Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ellen and in this video I want to share with you why people are actually walking the Camino. Small disclaimer, I have yet to go and start my Camino, but I'm prepping and I'm sharing basically what I've learned from people who have done it, from people who are teaching how you can prepare for it, and my own big why as to why I want to walk the Camino. And I'm thinking maybe when I arrive in Santiago, I have to do basically a remake of this video and share the stories that I've heard along the way, because some people are going to be willing to share their why. And I think there's going to be a lot more stories to share then. But for today, we're diving into the three main reasons why people are walking the Camino. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then thirdly, the surprise that whether you choose one of those three, you usually get all three, right? So without further ado, the people that I've talked to are going either because of the religious, spiritual journey that a Camino literally is. It's a pilgrimage. It's by tradition a religious endeavor. It used to give you certain credits for your afterlife in heaven. And it's just a religious tradition, basically. So for some people, that's still the main reason why they do it. I think in modern times, a lot of people are more spiritual than actually practicing any religious traditions still. But let's just put that in one category. That's the same. It's a reconnection with yourself, with universe, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it. That's the first reason that people might go. The second is for the cultural heritage, because it's a historic route. It's glorious along the way. There's many churches, there are cultural artifacts, a lot of places that you walk by or through are UNESCO World Heritage. So there's gonna be a treasure trove of culture to discover. So that is a main reason for other people to go instead of doing the purely natural GR routes or other more natural routes. The Camino has a big history and a lot of culture. And the third reason can, of course, be just a physical challenge. Some people just go because they want to walk 1,000 kilometers or however many miles that is. I think about like 700-ish, 600, I have no idea. Or just bike from home to Santiago, or just take more difficult routes like the Primitivo or the Norte, which are known as more difficult ones. I think the Via de la Plata is probably the hardest. But anyway, like some people do it specifically for that physical challenge of walking long distances, taking different or difficult terrain, or just doing the whole trip in one go and actually walking 1,000 kilometers, which is quite impressive. So that is the reason why most people go. The people that I've talked to are also in those categories. They're going for the culture. They're always sharing the history that they encountered along their Caminos. And some people I met actually did like 3 or 7 or 15. It's insane. It's like a microbe. I think that's one that once it gets you, you're like stuck for life with this microbe, and you probably will do like 15 Caminos in your lifetime, possible. But they are always telling me about the history of this place, and then the cuisine of that place, and you have to try that, and you have to try that. Other people are sharing much more about the little moments of magic. People are not that open about spiritual or religious journeys usually, but they're sharing little moments of magic. Like there's no coincidence on the Camino. You know, you meet someone, you borrow them a piece of your soap or your block of soap, and then you meet them a couple of days later while you've actually taken a day of rest, and then you still meet them in that town specifically, and they meet you and they're so happy, that are so grateful, and you get a bracelet as a thank you gift because you borrowed them your soap for one day. And this is grown men talking about there's no coincidence on the Camino. So it's not just the youth that is spiritually connected to something more than just what we see. So those are like the main reasons that people share. I have not met many people who did it just for the sports, but I will probably meet them on the way. And then I think it's just important to know that your why is either in one of those areas or in a couple of them. the reason that you need a why to do this, and the reason that I don't think you do this just for a holiday, just because you want to hike a bit. You might choose it if you're a thru hiker, but I think most people have a strong why as to why they want to do the Camino, right? So for me personally, it's a combination of, I had this sense of, something about the Camino was tugging at my heartstrings. I could not explain it. And I thought, okay, I probably need something a bit meditative, contemplation in walking, in movement, this sense of putting one foot in front of the other and knowing that you can always do that. You can always put one foot in front of the other, whether you are drowning in the Galician rain, because it's very famous, that corner of Spain. Like, I don't know which way this video is going to be, but the corner of Spain, Galicia, is pouring rain. It's very green, but it's going to be rainy and windy. And so you can always keep going. You can always put one foot in front of the other. Whether your feet are full with blisters, whether you are tired, whether you see no end to the road. Because if you've ever looked up the Camino Frances, for example, the middle part is a high plain or high plains. The meseta is just endless for days on end, right? So it's a mental journey as well, but you can always keep going. You can always put one foot in front of the other, which kind of became my motto for this trip. Because I'm in a transition period in my life, and I knew as soon as I was planning the details of my Camino, I felt, okay, I'm understanding why I feel this strong urge to do this. I've always wanted to, or I've always liked traveling on my own. And I remember this one huge trip that I took years ago, and it still felt like the most important trip of a lifetime. It was my dream holiday. It was my own journey. I was on my own. I met so many people. I felt so confident and strong, and I was more than 10 years younger. So that is such a treasure trove of memories and of finding yourself and getting in touch with yourself. Not finding yourself. I don't really believe that you have to find yourself, because you're basically always here. But it's more a sense of getting more in touch with your inner strength and not adapting to someone else, because you might hide some parts of you or behave slightly differently because of them. And you kind of, this solo travel can help you find yourself again, find your own source. I'm pointing to my lower belly because I think the root chakra is there, and it's your center of creation, and it's your core, literally. And I think as I was planning this, it became very clear that I had to do something big for myself. I had to do something on my own. It had to be big. It had to be meditative. It had to be slightly spiritual, because connecting to your core also means you can connect better to the universe or spirit or God or whatever you want to call it. And it helps you ground in you. And from there, I think you have more to give. If you're grounded in yourself, you have more to give. So that is for me the baseline of spirituality. And it needed to be big, it needed to be far away, it needed to be on my own. And I remember when I was sharing this why with people, you get very different reactions. You get people who are reacting to the actual why, and they are trying to give you other options, like you can just do 1 week, you can do it in a group. It's like, nah, the whole point is that I'm on my own, and it's more than 1 week. Other people are surprised that I'm going on a natural hike. Well, yeah, maybe I've changed, all right? And people will always be either big cheerleaders. I've talked about this in another video. They will be your wise counsel and actually share their own expertise with you, which is the most valuable. The cheerleaders are absolutely amazing. You want to cherish those people as well. And then there's always going to be the critics who feel either intimidated or they don't understand it, and they're not even trying to understand it. So they're just there, and you can learn to let them be. Let them. I know if you're on YouTube, you've heard of this theory, let them. Anyway, that's my big why. It might change along the way, that it becomes even more clear why I'm doing this. But for me, it's literally post-burnout as well, feeling that physical, what's the word, confirmation almost, that you can always put one foot in front of the other. And you can do that mentally, you can do that in business, you can do that in anything that is a bit of a struggle emotionally in life. But I kind of wanted to do this in physical form to almost confirm that I can do it, or it's as if I needed to do it in another shape to make the circle around. I have no idea, actually. It just feels like this is what I want to do, what I have to do. What I have to do. I want to, but it feels like a must. Feels like a must somehow. Anyway, that's my big why. And it's always difficult to explain somehow because you feel it and it's hard to put into words. But if you feel that there is a big must, that is your why. And whether that's on the Camino, whether that is in business, why you are building that business, whether it is in any kind of volunteering that you do, or you're part of a community where you help them build out the community, whatever it is, if you have that must, that's something deep inside of you that feels non-negotiable, like this is what I'm going to do, that's your why. As difficult as it might be to find the right words to explain it, right? That's mine. I think it's most in the spiritual realm, little less in the physical challenges, a little less in the cultural. But then again, knowing myself, I mean, the cultural food will be devoured with great with a lot of enthusiasm. I'm pretty sure of that. But brings me to my next point, because you might just go for, let's just keep it simple, for the spiritual grounding and you know, like the tree is growing again. Everyone I've spoken to has told me that whatever your motivation is to go, like one of those three, you always get all three. So you might go for the spiritual journey, but you will be physically challenged. It will be hard. It will be long. It will be rainy, your shoes might be wet, you might be blistered up, you might even get an injury, whatever. Like physically, you're gonna be challenged. And you're gonna be in awe of the culture, of the history, of the, even if it's just meeting people from different countries, that could be the cultural part of it for you. But, or you might go for the culture and say like, okay, I'm doing a walking holiday, but actually I'm just visiting church after church after church. And then you will still be physically challenged and you will still find some spiritual moments, even though it feels like magic when you meet someone from, I don't know, a different country and they feel like your best friend. Or it could be those small encounters where you meet someone, you help them, and you meet them again another time and they help you. Or the moment that you fall, suddenly there's 5 people around you who can actually help you. And then the rest of your day, you're on your own. So in the moments where you need someone, there's actually so many people around to help you. Kind of feels magical, whether you believe in any spiritual realm or not. And then, of course, if you're going for the physical challenge because you want to do 1,000 kilometers or you want to do the hardest Camino you can find, you will also find some spiritual or mental personal growth in that journey. And you will also see a lot of the culture. And I hope, just hope, that you appreciate that as well. So a little story to end up this, this video about the spiritual component of this, the image of the tree that I told you about, grounding in yourself and then connecting to spirit or to the heavens or the sky or the sun. I remember a couple of years ago, I was on a weekend with a few people. We were writing a lot, we were walking a lot, and at some point someone said, like, okay, let's just collect branches. Like little kids, we were collecting branches. If you have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We were collecting branches for the collection at home, and I have a huge collection here from my son. But we were collecting branches, and then we had to do something with them. We had to put flowers on them and wire and tape and paper and whatever you want to do, you could embellish the branch. And I was just playing like a kid, just enjoying the moment, just going with the flow, right? And by the end of that session, I hadn't expected it. I don't remember them saying this in the beginning, but we had to explain or tell a story about our branch. Like, what did you do? What did you create? And I remember it was a couple of years ago. So it was literally just after the huge transition in my life. I remember standing there with my little branch that was very colorful by then, but it was small. And I remember holding it and feeling as if I was a small tree that had been pulled out of the ground and I was just there hanging. No dirt, no earth on my roots, no water, no food. Like, I was just hanging there and I was lost, basically. And I remember a woman telling me, look, a young tree, you can always replant them. So you'll be fine. And it stuck to me. It still sticks to me. And it's probably 2 years ago. So she just understood exactly how I was feeling. And she gave me the exact sentence that I needed to feel hope. Like, a young tree, you can always replant and they will take root again. And I feel the most beautiful image that works for me for this Camino is as I am walking and reconnecting with myself, with my roots, in my source, in my lower belly, in myself, it feels like as the roots or as my tree is taking root, I can also blossom and reach for the sky and grow into the sunlight again. And it feels like springtime is a perfect moment to start this. And I think that could actually be the summary of my personal why. Yes, it's quite spiritual, but it feels like I finally planted my tree again in myself. And that is the main goal for this Camino. That's the main goal in life. Before you can start an entirely new chapter, you need to be home with yourself. And funnily enough, as soon as I realized that a couple of months ago, as I was planning this, as my why was becoming so much clearer, it's as if that has already happened. And the Camino will bring me new surprises that I have no idea of right now. And I'm so curious what's going to happen. I'm so curious who I'm going to meet. I'm so curious how I will be challenged both spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and the surprises that I will discover along the way that are of cultural value. I'm really curious. And if you've been following, I'm pretty sure you are too, but I'm guaranteeing you by the time that I reach Santiago, when I come home, I will tell you exactly what other people's whys were, their reasons why they are walking the Camino, and what I've learned along the way. Like, let's just go for a walk and talk about life, right? I'll see you in the next one. Love you guys. Bye-bye.